an old, that boy, you know. When he says go, he goes. He's the best cracksman in the business.
Norman Stanley Fletcher, you have pleaded guilty to the charges brought by this court, and it is now my duty to pass sentence.
You call it stir to start with, and I thought that was a bit sort of, I don't know, a bit sort of like a probing, strange, educational. It didn't sound right. It didn't sound funny. And then they said bird, and I said bird's lovely, except that you say bird and people think of woman, think of a woman. What about porridge? Ah, they said, yes, that'll do, that's good. And when I got the first script, it said porridge, a cereal for television, spelled C-E-R-E-A-L.
There's a curious, bittersweet aspect to porridge, and there's a sort of coping with loneliness, which is part of the comedian's role anyway. While he's banged to rights. So there's a curious pathos about his performance.
There's only one good thing about a new day in here, isn't there? Replaces the old one. Cross one off, haven't we?
There could be times when he'd just say a funny line, which would get a great laugh, but there'd be a resonance after it. You thought, this is absolutely truthful. God, you know, this is about prison. What he said is right. These people are trapped. There's no way of them getting out. And there were times, you know, when he's playing with Richard Beckinsale, were very touching moments.
Tomorrow night ain't going to be your night, Lenny.
How?
Big Grouty wants you to take a dive in a second.
Poor Richard Beckinsale, who died tragically early, 31 years old. He was delightful.
But I just can't do it.
But why not? I mean, what does it mean? It's meaningless. Just inter-wing fighting? What is it? It's meaningless.
I know that.
Well, then why can't you do it? For me.
I've already promised Billy Moffat that'll go down in the first.
Sitcoms so much depend on getting the right group of people together. Casting is very, very important. Fulton Mackay was wonderful to watch.
No, I'm going to be watching you, Fletcher. I'm going to be watching you like a hawk, because nobody goes over the wall in my prison.
Oh, no, Mr. Mackay, no. No one would dare take the petrol out of you.
Have you ever seen two top-class tennis players play? There's an awful lot of tremendous brain power going on, which you're not aware of, but the skill of where they can outwit their opponent with placing a ball, where they place it and when they place it. And I always likened that working with Ronnie was like that.
Is that the paper man in sight yet?
No, that paper man isn't in sight yet. What would a paper man be doing out in the middle of the night?
All right, they don't get your milk bottles in a twist. You'll be turning that sour, you know.
Yeah, I think I already have. While everyone else is out enjoying their young manhood, I'm stuck here making emotional yogurt.
Well, if you're going to have a little tantrum, you can accompany yourself on the feather duster. There you are.
But you wouldn't get the better of Ronnie B very often.
You're bearing up very well for an errand boy in pain.
I'm not in pain.
Ronnie had total relaxation. So, you know, one of the classic exercises that young actors do is rubbing their stomach one way and rubbing their head the other at a different tempo. So you divide the tempo of your right and left side of body. Now, if you can do that in a state of complete relaxation, you're halfway to becoming an actor. Ronnie could do that and balance a ping-pong ball on his nose as well. I mean, he had that kind of clown's aptitude.
I'm not here to explain exactly what timing is. It is a particular gift that one has of how to go to the edge of a moment and bring the audience to that edge before you release them. You know exactly the right moment in which to get a comic effect.
It's very difficult to say what people teach you. One particular man called Glenn Melvin, I always say he taught me everything I know about comedy. He taught me the stutter I used as Arkwright. In the play that he wrote, He played a character who was had a stutter, and he did it marvellously, and I learned to do it.
Half an hour he's been down there, but bragging away about how to tap a barrel. He'd just bent down to draw some beer off. The tap shot out and hit him on the nose.
I asked him one day, I said, how, you stuttered on that, I said, but you didn't stutter on that. I said, why? He said, well, he says, there's no L in it. So I said, well, but what makes you stutter on that word then and not that one? He said, well, I basically want to stutter when I see the word L. So he said, I think I'll love you. Now, that was his starter, but then he'd break the rules for that when he could get a comic effect on it.
For instance, have you ever tried one of these wonderful pepper pork pies? All that is not pepper pie is pepper pork. And all that is not pepper pork is pepper pie. So that's where 50% pepper pork and pepper. Well, you can work it out for yourself.
I've had, I think, 3 letters about the stutter. 2 were saying you really shouldn't do it. But the one I dreaded most was when I opened it. It said, "Dear sir, this letter comes from a family of 5 stutterers. And we watched your programme, Open All Hours, and we were falling off the sofa laughing at it. And we spent the next 2 days sending each other up with the various stutters that we had, and it was wonderful."
I'm the chairman of the International Society for the Shy and Embarrassed, or SISI for short.
Ronnie's offstage persona has always been very dry and very deprecating. He's the chief target of his humour is himself, but he has a very English capacity not to take anything apparently too seriously. I'm sure it's not true. I'm sure it's a mask.
I myself am very shy. That's why I carry this fan, you see. It's reversible, so if I'm not feeling the life and soul of the party, I simply turn it round like this.
It's wonderful because, of course, it's quite self-effacing. He doesn't push himself at all. And that, I think, is quite interesting because some comics clearly have difficulty with their sense of identity.
I've always found it very difficult to be myself. In fact, when we were at the Palladium, we had to come on as ourselves, and I said to Ronnie, I'm very nervous about this, I don't know. He said, well, be someone. Be Ronnie Barker, he said. Be this character called Ronnie Barker. And I came on as a sort of version of myself, but a sort of showbiz version.
My name is Lucifer Hornsby, and I am the Grand High Wizard of the Emetic Order of the Golden Rivet. Pendant branch. And this is me out of uniform.
It's always been very important to my father that his private life is private, which was why he would never give his telephone number or address out or anything like that, and we never gave the telephone number and address out as children. We knew that when he was at home, that was his private time. When he was in the street or doing a show, then he would be performing, then he would be, you know, Ronnie Barker, as everybody knew him. But it was very important, and I think it's what, you know, it's what kept him sane, was the ability to say, this is the performing, and this is me. And when I'm me, then I want to be, you know, away from the public eye.
You what?
He got I cannot remember what the play was, something absolutely wonderful to do on the box, but it meant he would have to do it when it was during the school holiday, when he went to Littlehampton with Joy and the children. So he wouldn't do it. I mean, I was saying, there's a train from you can come up and rehearse, you can go back weekend. Nope, that's the school holidays. So that's sacrosanct.
I suppose I was about, you know, 6 or 7 or something, and we were going over to the beach. And I remember walking across, with my mother, we walked across the road, then we walked across the green that led over onto the beach. And I remember turning round and my father waving to me from the window because he couldn't come onto the beach, because there were too many people who would recognise him and it wouldn't be a relaxing time for him. and too many people would come up and talk, and so he had to stay. And people think, God, that's terrible, what an awful story. But it's not, when you think that, you know, he was there for us. We had the holiday, and there were just times when we couldn't all go out together because of who he was. But we never thought of that as anything strange, because we'd grown up with that all our lives.
Who are you?
I'm the bloke sitting here having supper with you, ain't I?
You don't think of yourself as a star. I think of myself as being popular. People in the street like to say hello to you. But I don't know. I don't know what a star is, really. I don't know what a star is. A star is a person you never see in the street, probably. You never saw Orson Welles in the street.
Me mother says if God had intended men to smoke, he'd have put chimneys in their heads.
You tell your mother from me, if God had intended men to wear collars, he'd have put collar studs in the back of their necks. What are you bobbing up and down like that for?
One of the most sad and awful things to me was all those years I ran the National Theatre. It's 15 years. And the 10 years I ran the Royal Shakespeare Company, I never succeeded in getting him back onto the stage, because I think he remains a great actor. And he was, at one point, he agreed to play Falstaff for me. Then he changed his mind and retired instead.
He had this enormous interest in old artifacts, particularly postcards. And I think that's probably what's enabled him to retire, that he's got this other life, whereas most performers don't, do they? Most performers just have the one life, and they're not going to let it go when it's going well.
I don't want to get old as an actor, and old and feeble, and sort of start not being able to keep control of the lines and the memory, and people saying, well, I don't think we've got a series for you this year, Ronnie, but we're looking, you know. And I could see that awful downhill slide that you do see with old actors.
I like a bit of salt. What's the matter? It must be damp.
Here, try this one.
Oh, tar. What's the other one? Pepper, is it?
A torch battery.
What? Yeah. That's good, isn't it? It's not a salt and pepper, it's a salt and battery.
Oh, I'd put him back on the boards, I would.
There was Chris, there was Connie and Clarissa and Cecilia and Charity and Caroline and Kate. There was shrinking little Violet who doesn't want to marry it, and bulging little Harriet who can't afford to wait. Clarissa, you could kiss her, you could meddle with Melissa, and Vanessa, you could press her and caress against the wall. You could have fun with Nicola, but if you tried to tickle her, you'd end up with Virginia, and she won't do at all.
A lot of people see Ronnie as a kind of personification of Englishness in a way. And I think he's very reassuring as a performer. They feel here's somebody who does see what an absurd life. He's not condescending and he's not too abrasive either, which is a sort of combination of sort of British qualities that Ronnie has seem to work in the middle there very well.
Down for a dip in the briny, laughing and splashing about, watching the girls in the water, waiting for them to come out, stroll past the back of a beach hut, glimpsing the ladies behind, all in their best bathing dresses, each one a different kind. There are green ones, lean ones, stringy runner bean ones, black ones, slack ones, barrels of balloons, fat ones, flat ones, welcome on the mat ones, tiny little orange ones and big full moons, square ones, bare ones, toss them in the air ones, bright ones, tight ones, lollipops and lumps, town ones, brown ones, wobbling up and down ones, dainty little spotty ones and great big bumps. It takes all sorts to make a world, or so they always say, and down by the sea all sorts you'll see on a seaside holiday.
People say to me, what ambitions have you got? I said, I've only got one ambition, and that is to own a tree that grows mistletoe on it.
It's only a little thing I ask.
So I still have a little ambition left, but none at all in show business. I thoroughly enjoyed my life, thoroughly enjoyed my career. I've been so lucky, wonderfully lucky, and I just had a ball.
Funny man, nice man, clever man.
So, it's a goodbye from me, and it's a goodbye from him.